The sands are swirling and two massive cavalry armies have congregated deep in the heart of the Anatolian desert. I'm Indie Pride, your handsome, intelligent, and charismatic host, and I will be commanding the Sultanate of Rum. Oakley Hidef from THFE Productions is commanding the Cuman Khanate. This will be a brutal and bloody battle on Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD, a wonderful mod currently in closed beta for Total War Attila. Oakley has a collection of heavy and light horse archers, some very powerful heavy cavalry in his Khan's lancers, and 3 noble spearmen, which will be very useful for him in terms of blocking charges and turning cav engagements in his favor. There's a massive army over on this side of the field as we get a sweeping shot of the desert here. And over on my side, the core of my army is comprised of the Ghulams, which means servant or slave, powerful military caste with heavy armor and good skirmish and melee capabilities. And I have 4 senior Ghulam horse archers, 4 junior Ghulams, 3 heavy dismounted Ghulams, and a strong contingent of Askari nobles as my melee cav, making up the Sultan's army. So, right now, I'm just kind of sweeping out my senior Ghulams and my junior Ghulams to the flanks, where I have a pretty big skirmish advantage. So, let's talk about advantages and disadvantages in this engagement. I have a pretty clear-cut advantage in the skirmish fight in this battle. All of my horse archers have Parthian shot, but his heavy horse archers do not. The trade-off being that his heavy horse archers get lances on the charge, whereas mine don't. So if I kite and micro appropriately, I should win a straight-up skirmish fight, but we'll see how that goes. And especially that's just because the Ghulam foot guard are going to be a really important part of the skirmish fights as well. They can help me turn a skirmish fight in my favor and shoot off some of his horse archers. On the other side of things, the Khan's Lancers and his 3 noble spearmen are units I really have to watch out for in this battle. His Khan's Lancers have 3 silver chevrons and will straight up beat my Askari nobles in a 1v1 fight, not to mention the fact that his noble spearmen will skewer my cavalry if I try to take a cav engagement too close to his lines. So right now, I am trying to use that Parthian shot to my advantage. For those of you guys who don't know, the Parthian shot allows me to fire when I'm riding away, which means I get to shoot guys in the face as I'm running, and it also means that my skirmish capabilities are just more potent than his. He can't fire when he's running away. So I am going to push up on this side now. My Askari nobles are going to go into melee and get countercharged by some of his Khan's Lancers, and he has a lot more backing them up in this engagement. I'm going to send my horse archers out to the flanks to harass his melee cavalry, but he's doing the exact same thing to mine. My Askari nobles are getting shredded right now. I am not getting the better in this engagement at all, but I am going to commit more here because what I want to do is move my guys over on the other flank and see if I can catch Oakley in a micro mistake. So I'm going to commit more of my Askari nobles. They are going to get shredded though. Oakley's doing a great job of shooting heavy shot into the flanks of my cav. I am outnumbered over on this side, and I'm not going to find any openings on the other side of the battlefield where you can't see that flank. But I am losing this engagement, and quickly I'm going to realize this is not the play right now. Time to pull out and lick my wounds for a little bit. So this engagement was ill-advised. It definitely was a mistake to take. I am going to lose an Askari noble and some of my other cav units. Pull out there. It wasn't a massive deal. Remember, this is a 40 versus 40 battle. I think I have 28 units and Oakley has 32. So losing 1 or 2 cav units is not a huge deal, but it does mean that he now has an advantage over on that side of the battlefield. And I'll have to use my skirmish advantage more carefully if I want to win over on that side. So you can see my Ghulams are now moving out to the flank. Gonna see if I can exploit anything over on that side. And while we look at that, we can talk a little bit about some of the balance changes that Warman has made in this mod. Well, actually, we can talk about that in a bit. Oakley's about to make a move here, so I kind of baited my Ghulam foot guard up on that hill. They had a nice little line of sight there, and Oakley really wants to get those off the field because they're expensive and can do a lot of damage. So he's going to move up his step lancers, and I'm going to actually countercharge, get a nice sandwich here, and rip them a new one. Those step lancers are very cheap. It's not a bad trade. If he could have gotten to a Ghulam foot guard there, could have done a lot of damage, but I'm going to tie down most of this cav attack, and his step lancers have no chance, especially because I have some lower tier infantry backing up that engagement as well. He's going to lose these very cheap step lancers. Again, not a huge deal for him. If he could have gotten those very expensive and powerful Ghulam foot guard off the field, that's definitely worth it for him. But he's now backing it up with even more men, and over on the left flank, I am also tying down some of his other cav units there. Some of my cav is routing, but I've done a lot of damage to some of his cav units as well. And in the center, Step Lancers are breaking. I have an Ascari Noble tying down 2 of his cav units. And basically this is going to be tie down as much melee cav as you can and then shoot the crap out of it. If you can get rid of all the melee cav for the other player, you're going to have a huge advantage and pretty much have free reign to shoot into the engagements whenever you want. So getting those melee cav units off the field, the Khan's Lancers and the Ascari Nobles for both of us will be very important. So far I have gotten the better of the cav engagements though in this part of the battle. So now I noticed a big opening here. Oakley's going to leave some of his archers unsupported, and I'm going to charge into the flank here with some of my Ascari cav. Great charge there from the flank. Going to be able to rout 2 of these archer units, and that's going to hurt Oakley a lot. Those are some of the better units he has to shoot my horse archers. Infantry archers are always better at killing horse archers than other horse archers simply because they have more men in the unit, they have more skirmish power basically. So it's a trade-off between foot archers and cavalry archers. Cav, of course, has the mobility, the ability to shoot at any unit you want anywhere on the field if you move into that position fast enough. Foot archers simply have more power in their skirmish capabilities just because they have more men in a unit. So took those 2 archers off the field. You can see a lot of his cheaper cav is routing, and I'm pushing them back. So Warman asked me how to improve balance for Medieval Kingdoms. I gave him a list of possible changes, and he took most, if not all, of my suggestions verbatim and plopped them in the mod. Of course, I had suggested to him that cavalry health needed a nerf. It really did. Health was taken down from around 260 on a lot of heavy cav units down to 170, as Oakley's actually going to make a micro mistake here. Maybe took his javelins off skirmish mode, and they're going to get trucked by my heavy units here. So that's a big swing right there. But yeah, cav health was taken down from 260 on a lot of heavy cav units down to about 170 to be more in line with the Age of Charlemagne values. And so cavalry is still very powerful with their impact damage and their charge bonuses, but you can't YOLO into the enemy army and expect to last for any significant amount of time anymore. As Jav cav are going down really fast, and I am starting to win over on the right flank. But yeah, the health nerf was definitely a necessary change. Engagements no longer take 15 minutes to resolve, which means you can actually be rewarded for back charging enemy cavalry now and outplaying your opponent, which really wasn't a thing on the last version of this mod. But the side effect of that health nerf is that pulling out of engagements is now punished extremely heavily. You will lose so many men trying to pull out of melee combat. It's just, you might as well just keep them in. Don't pull out of engagements, even if their spears come in to reinforce. It's not worth it. Your heavy knights will die super fast. Just keep them in melee. They will last for so much longer. So he also made some other changes. The halberd units' weapon damage was nerfed from, I believe, their weapon damage was 42. It's down to 30 now. So halberds are definitely worse. Still versatile units, but definitely worse than they were before. Axes got a buff to their armor piercing and a bit of a charge bonus buff as well. So these were all things that I suggested. I think he made a couple changes to the charging themselves, like the speed of charges. But yeah, there have been a bunch of changes which have ultimately been good so far given what I've played. So yeah, back to the battle. I have routed a lot of his Jav cav now. I think actually all 3 of his Javelin units were routed there. I don't know if Oakley took them off skirmish mode or if they were on skirmish mode and just bugged out. But while Javelin cav isn't the most efficient unit in this kind of battlefield because there's so many horse archers on the field and they just get outranged, Jav cav would have been nice in late game situation to take out maybe my Gulam full guard or that kind of thing. So definitely not units that he wanted to lose. And I'm now charging in from the flank to take out some more of his Khan's Lancers there. Good charge there. Definitely some friendly fire going on. And Oakley's now switched to Flaming Arrows, which will start dealing out a big morale penalty. And actually, Flaming Arrows have a bonus versus cav as well that will do a lot of damage to my cav units if he gets flanking or rear shots off. So battle's going very evenly at this point. We both lost a lot of our core units. My Gulam Foot Guard are still on the field, but a lot of my senior and junior Gulams have taken quite a bit of damage. And now is the point in the battlefield, or in the battle, where I feel like I need to start committing some of my horse archers to melee. So you can see the layout of the battlefield so far. The line has shifted so much already, as you would expect. The cavalry engagements taking place all over the field, so much mobility. The battle line has shifted a lot. We're trying to manipulate line of sight with the dunes, trying to protect ourselves from skirmish fire, that sort of thing. This is a really interesting battle on this map in particular, just because were able to see all that line of sight thing. So what I wanted to do, what I'm hoping to do, is push the horse archers back on his right flank and then exploit that gap where I drew that red line, send my cav units through, hopefully get some rear charges off. Lots of cav he's committed now. The Khan's Lancers and actually some of his horse archers as well have been committed to melee. So another advantage that I have in this battle is that my junior and my senior Ghulam archers are very good in melee. His heavy horse archers have the lances on their charge. They're pretty scary to deal with, but my senior and junior Ghulams overall, besides his heavy horse archers, are going to beat the other horse archers in melee combat. So once I commit them into melee, number one, they're going to be able to kill a good charge here. Actually, I need to cover this. Great charge from Oakley. I made a big micro mistake there. I brought my Ghulam foot guard too far up. He's going to punish me heavily with a cav charge there. Right up the center. Just bad micro for me, honestly. I should have kept them more protected. They're a very important unit, and I'm going to lose an entire Ghulam foot guard, about 1,000 talents down the drain for no reason. They might be 900 talents, but yeah. Big mistake there. Should not have let that happen. So my Ghazi infantry are going to help push off some of those cav. Again, losing too many Ghulam foot guard there. That was bad. I do have some wavering over on this side, but he does as well. And now you're going to see the power of the Ghulam foot guard, why it's bad to lose that unit. This Ghulam foot guard has a great line of sight into this cav engagement, doing a truckload of damage to the enemy cavalry that's tied down right now. They have really good line of sight, just shooting in there. Going to be taking a bunch of them off of the field. Look at that armor. Seriously, the models in this mod are fantastic. They look amazing. But yeah, they're just shooting in, causing a lot of damage. There might be a line of sight issue now because I have so many other cav units tied in. I don't know how much they want to friendly fire, but pushing up now, and this battle is suddenly going to devolve into utter chaos. I decided at this point that I no longer want to shoot. A lot of my units are running out of ammunition or running low on ammunition, and I smell blood in the water. And I feel like if I commit all my Ghulam horse archers, I might be able to break Oakley's army with the sheer power of my melee capabilities. So on my right flank and left flank and in the center with that big blob of horsemen protecting the Sultan, we're going to tie down and cut down every enemy we can. Just commit most, if not all of it, to melee and see what we can do. So actually, if someone wants to give me a brief history of the Cuman Khanate in the comments, that'd be awesome. I don't actually know if these are the Kipchak Turks or a different branch of the Turkic people, but obviously, much like the Mongols, I would expect there to be a lot of cultural assimilation and members from many different backgrounds and ethnicities. So if someone wants to give me a rundown of that, that would be pretty interesting. I don't actually know a lot about the Cuman Khanate, but I do know that the Khan's Lancers are still scary, and his Khan bodyguard are going to be a problem, and they're almost full HP and running in the back of my army. So I'm scared of this unit. This is the biggest threat on the field. Things have started to shift a little bit in my favor, but if you can get those Khan's bodyguard into my Ghulam foot guard, things could definitely change. Right here, it looks like I'm straight up winning and doing really well, cutting down his noble spearmen, shooting in from the flank, getting some rear charges off, causing morale penalties, that sort of thing. But in a second here, Oakley's going to employ a very smart tactic. You can see the flame arrows going off there. And suddenly, flaming shot coming in from multiple angles is going to start causing a lot of routing on my line. Look how much wavering there is right now. Right there, a lot of my units are starting to break. My gen is actually going to rout. If he dies at this point in the battle, I could totally lose. And I do have that Khan's bodyguard in the back. He also has that horse archer right there shooting in with the flaming arrows. That is a big problem. And he has those noble spearmen. So I do have them tied down with the Ghazi, which is good for me. Not sure the Ghazi can win that engagement 1v1, but they're also preventing the noble spearmen from helping out in cav engagements, which is where they're really needed. So those flaming arrow volleys were definitely causing me a lot of fear. A lot of my units wavered. They did not break, though. They routed, but they didn't shatter, which was good for me. If they had shattered there, this could have been very, very different. As it is, I still have not won this battle yet. He still has this very threatening unit in the back. He's going to charge through the remnants of this horse archer. Going to try to tie them down with some of my other Ghulams and my Turkoman Raiders. See what I can do there. But he is going to break through. He has a lot more HP, a lot more men in that unit, and he's way more capable in melee. But I'm breaking up the charge, which is important. I'm slowing him down, killing the rest of his army, and now balance bar is shifted very much in my favor. He's going to crest this hill and see the death, the utter destruction that has surrounded these dunes. So many dead, and his army is pretty much dead at this point. Mine is too. I've lost so many men, and I get a good charge into the remnants of that Ghulam foot guard. There's quite a few men there on my archer unit, but he's going to pull through, try to get away. No chance. Going to tie him down. Cut him to pieces. That will be your game. Oakley played really well this battle. Certainly a couple mistakes on both of our sides. Oakley's a damn good Total War player. Honestly, I have to give him props. The dude knows how to play. He plays in strange ways. It's hard to get a read on the dude, honestly. It's really hard to get a read on how he plays. He plays differently in every battle and just does interesting tactics that you don't normally run into. So we had kind of agreed in this battle to bring very similar army setups, which I think was very smart because it made for a very interesting tactical battle. A lot of horse archers on the field. You can see that my senior Ghulams carried the day for me. Junior Ghulams did quite well. Also, my Askari Cav and Askari Nobles really weren't spectacular. One of my dismounted Ghulam archers did quite well, over 100 kills, but the other two microed them get charged by Cav. And over on his side, his was more spread out, I think. None of his horse archers did amazingly well, but they all got some kills. And then his noble spearmen certainly helped him out in some of those cav engagements early on and made it scarier for me to take cav engagements. But overall, interesting battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.